Konnichiwa, Code Blue. Konnichiwa, Tokyo. I will take an obligatory photo of all of you. If you don't want to be on the photo, please put the hands in front of your face. That's for my mom. She never believes that anyone pays money to come and hear me talk, let alone someone translating me mumbling. Hello, I'm Vangelis Stykas. Welcome to my talk, Behind Enemy Lines, Engaging and Disrupting Ransomware Web Panels. Some viewer discretion is advised on all of my talks. I really like saying a lot of bad words. If you're offended, so sorry about that. I'm gonna try to follow the rules, but I usually am not that good at it. That's me. I'm Vangelis Stykas. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Atropos, which is a niche boutique web penetration testing firm, mostly focusing on renewable energies. And I'm also a security researcher. My research interests are mostly on API for IoT. And for the past couple of years, C2 for malware, ransomware, and pretty much any crimeware that is on the internet. So how it all started. Back in 2023, I did a DEF CON talk about malware C2 and how easy it was to get remote command execution on most of them. I wanted a bigger challenge, and I wondered if it was any harder to hack ransomware panels. The initiate was done by Marcus Hutchins, I think you all know him, posting about how threat intelligence is so much different than cyber threat intelligence, and how the actual threat intelligence is being handled by most of the governments, whereas in CTI, it's just some dude named Brad who got really baked one night and YOLO'd his way into an APT. There are two things in here. My name is not Brad, and I'm not a big fan of any kind of narcotics other than a little bit of alcohol. The second part are on the bottom. There are three really good friends that I have. If you are on Twitter, which you shouldn't, but if you are, drop them and follow. It's Sulfur, a really good penetration tester. Iskuri, who is a multiple times DEF CON and Black Hat speaker. And Charles Mishihara, who is a world-class artist, an elite hacker, and a fellow Japanese. So the actual question of how easy it was really, really not easy. So for malware, I was able to pawn pretty much 50% of their panels, 18 out of 36. For ransomware, I was able to somehow hack or get some kind of info out of 3 out of 150 panels. I'm going to do a quick intro to ransomware. That's the only wall of text that I have in my presentation. Ransomware is a type of malicious software, malware that threatens to publish or block access to data or computer systems, usually by encrypting it. We all know what ransomware is. I'm not going to continue. They usually set a deadline and request some kind of money. If the victim doesn't pay in time, the data is gone forever, or even worse, moved into the internet. What we're going to see on the ransomware: malware distribution and infection, command and control, discovery and lateral movement, data extraction, data encryption, extortion, which is a huge part of ransomware business nowadays, and resolution. Resolution could be that you recovered from a backup, or you just set up everything from scratch. That slide is gonna emphasize on how good ransomware market is. I'm gonna emphasize more than I hate with a big H ransomware. They're the faster growing type of cybercrime. Their payouts in 2023, unfortunately, moved above the psychological limit of 1 billion. They're a highly professional industry. They seem that boundaries are really falling off, so right now they're going after critical national infrastructure and hospitals and medical staff and everything else. And WannaCry opened the can of worms. Ransomware gangs, as with pretty much any criminal organization, is highly hierarchical. It has a clear structure. There is a tech part, they're going to see on a later slide. They also have ransom negotiators and customer support. They have money launderers and payment processing because they're having millions or hundreds of millions, so you need to launder that kind of money. And they have collaboration and partnership because they're startups, it seems. The technical part. They have malware developers, who are the people who develop the malware. They have exploitation, which have possible zero-day or end-day developers. They have data theft and leak experts. They have operational security, which we're going to see that at some point they fuck up. And they have infrastructure and hosting, because if you have hacked a huge company and you have exported a couple of petabytes of data, you really want to have quick and good infrastructure and hosting and proper backup, because if you lose the thing that you say you get, you're going to lose the money. The ransomware models are the following. One of them, which is quickly deteriorating, is lone wolves. They also have initial access brokers. We all know what they are. They are the gangs that are selling just the initial access. They have the all-in-one ransomware groups, which are pretty much well-known. All the biggest ones have all-in-one ransomware groups. And they also have ransomware as a service, because as I already said, they are startups and not criminals. The ransomware as a service have a flat monthly fee. Those are the models for the ransomware as a service. Either flat monthly fee, a model that is dying slowly, an affiliate program with a monthly % of the profits, a one-time license that's also dying quickly, pure profit sharing, payments to the RAS. The most well-known are Lockbit, Black Hat, which made already an exit, Clop, and some more that are the past year have turned up. That's my only slide that is trying to do a picture. It's me playing on Paint. Can anyone tell me who the hacker is? It's on the top. You have to know it. You're at a hacker conference. Whenever you see someone with a hoodie, it's a hacker. So the hacker is, the ransomware gang is trying to get to the user and connect to the C2 server via the cloud. The extortion model is after hacking, they are trying to extort the people. They try to establish communication with victims. We're going to see how they communicate. Usually it's either an onion website or some kind of Tox or Tor messenger. They lay their terms and they extort their victims in multiple ways. The first way is ransom on data. So if they have data, they are saying, give us the money so that you can get the data back. The second part is right now, the past 5 years, we're going to see that we're going to release the data to everyone else on the internet. The third is happening the past couple of years is DDoSing with knowledge obtained from data. And the past year, we see the fourth way of extortion, which is communicate with customer and stakeholders, or even governmental parties that announce that that company was hacked. Let's set some goals for our research. We need to identify the C2s and data leak sites. We're going to try and find some vulnerabilities. We will try to identify people behind them. We will try to disrupt the panels, the threat actors, and try to do as much harm as we could to them. The last one is do not disturb any active LEA investigation, which is something really, really important. We don't want to be on anyone's bad terms. In Greek, don't be a malakas, which in English means don't take the piss, don't do something that will be considered bad, and don't get banned. And by don't get banned, I mean, jokingly, last year I was saying that I will end up in a black van and be abducted by any kind of these criminals that make hundreds of thousands of hundreds of millions of profits. But it seems that the more realistic scenario was me waking up to this kind of message. So after my malware talk, I woke up and said the government-backed attackers may be trying to steal your password, which it means that someone decided to burn $1 million exploit to get my password. I'm going to say it again. I'm always saying it. If someone has $1 million just to get my password, I will give him my password for $500,000 plus tax. And I will just delete my kids' photos. The second alert was a month ago. So state-sponsored attackers may be targeting my iPhone because I don't know what they wanted from my iPhone, because my iPhone is just me sending around messages to my wife on what we're going to eat in the evening or how did the kids went to school. But yeah, all in all, at least they tried. So I still am not hacked. At some point I'm going to be hacked, but that's life, I guess. How I identify the panels. There are three really good services, ransomlook.io, ransomwave.live, and GitHub Deep Dark CTI GitHub repository. And I also had to do a lot, and I mean a lot, of doom scrolling and monitoring CTI companies for new posts. The limitations that I had is that whenever I found a C2, it had a terribly small lifetime. It usually had a couple of days of lifetime as the campaign was running, and then it was taken down. The data leaks websites are really good looked after, and the data leaks are behind Tor and Onion, which means I had to also go through another way, another proxy to access them. My methodology is quite simple. I'm going to ignore malware distribution and reversing because I'm a simpleton. I don't understand reversing. I'm not that kind of a guy. I will run the malware in a sandbox. I will extract all URLs, and I will use data leaks URLs found via CTI. And I will also introduce you to the Toyota Corolla of penetration testing, which is web application penetration testing. It's not sexy, not quick, but it will get you from point A to point B. It will also give you access at some point to several C2s, and if you're lucky enough, you're also going to control a couple of servers from ransomware gangs. Methodology. How we're going to search them. Dir search, I love dir search, and FFUF, but I love dir search. Burp Suite, so that I can monitor everything. Tor Expert Bundle, Tor Browser, and Tor Socks, which is the trifecta of Tor researchers when you're trying to access anything via Tor. Coffee, you're gonna need a lot of coffee. AnyRun has the sandbox to extract everything. Several droplets on DigitalOcean because ransomware are also monitoring and they're banning really, really aggressively. So Dan.io and Sensis, so that if we are lucky enough, find the real IP. And did I mention a lot of coffee? Because you really need a lot of coffee and a lot of quick responses once something goes online. The methodology that I did was the black box web application testing. I used any acquired information to further my attacks, interact with the data lake and chat websites, and if anything else failed, I would intentionally infect sandbox or one machine to get a ticket. And by ticket is the token that you need so that you can chat with the ransomware gangs. The first try, DIRSERS and FFUF with a custom words word list pretty much returned nothing. There are only 15 URLs that had something, but pretty much nothing at all. I moved to manually check all of them, and that's a tedious task. The results, 5 of them were WordPress, because why wouldn't you use WordPress for your ransomware C2? A couple of them were leaking IP addresses, and some of them were really cheeky. I don't know how the translators are going to translate cheeky, but one of them told me to F off. The other one told me to you get the words, I'm not going to say them. And the third one was just business, nothing personal. Keep that in mind. We're going to use just business, nothing personal. And anything from here on, much like Alice in Wonderland, we're going to take the pill and go into ransomware land following the bunny. The first one is Malox, also known as Target Company, Fargo, Tochnici, and they go with another one after my DEF CON talk. First appearance was 3 years ago on June 2021. It targets mostly Windows machines. It exploits MS SQL by brute forcing SA accounts or using CVs that are already known, and their victims are in the hundreds. That's their data leak site. You can see that they have over 200 victims. And that's their login. So welcome to authorization for the dialog, enter your private key. I needed to find the private key, so I had to install the malware at one of the sandboxes, and I got that. First of all, we communicate only in English. Good, I also know English. And afterwards, I just send a hello message. The initial issue was the Apache server status was exposed, so I was able to leak URLs and found the actual server IP address. They were leaking tokens to check other people's messages, so I could also see the history of messages, but this is my hello message. Can you see the issue in here? So there is a reply in there, which is pretty much what in my millennial mind is quote on forums, and it gets a reply ID, which of course I'm going to brute force and find that it has an insecure direct object reference, which means the parameter was an incremental integer, which means I could write a for loop in a Python and get all the messages. There is one, I also got the usernames because I'm quoting their messages. So there's one guy who was interestingly named and quoted as boss and was quite bossy. I work according to my own schedule, which does not change at anyone's request, blah, 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 blah. He's a really bad guy. I have a well-maintained business and I don't care about anyone who cannot secure their computers. Kinda cheeky from him, from someone who doesn't know what an IDOR is. And the last one, I was on special K for a couple of days, so F off and do the work I'm paying you to, which I don't know what special K is, but doesn't sound something legit. Then there's Panda, seeing that they also use in between the messages for them. Boss, the budget for this client is 1,500. Do you agree? They don't need much data. And Jessica sending to probably one of her coworkers, boss is not on a good mood today. Let's be careful. Yeah. That doesn't sound like a good place to work. And finally, I also was able to find 2 decryptors for 2 different companies. Those were links, those were communicated to the companies, they were used, so they didn't have to pay. This is all the people that I was able to identify. On the top there was the boss, Panda, Jessica, Malox, and Ismail. Unfortunately, once after 16 hours, I extracted all the messages, the chat was disabled, and the IDOR issue was fixed. All in all, once the guy got, I don't know, off Special K and understood what happened, fixed the issue. I got some internal knowledge of the team, I got some decryptors. Once the admin got up, it was fixed. So all in all, I would say this was a mediocre result on attempting to hack someone. Second gang is the Black Cat, Alpha V, known as Noberus Alpha B. Their first appearance was in 2021. They operate as a ransomware as a service. They're Rust-based malware. The server-side C2 is also Rust-based, and they use the triple extortion scheme, which means they get it, they encrypt the data, they also saying that if you're not paying us, we're going to publish the data, and we are going to use that data to DDoS your internal infrastructure. They use Rust Loader, which was researched by Bitdefender Labs and Lapuneanu, the guy's name that did that, the reversing, which was extremely good work. It was targeting Mac only. It was developed in Rust, and the C2 was used on all of Black Hat malware, it seems. His name is Andrei Lapunceanu. I hope I pronounce it correctly, but that's the guy. And they also found all those CNC URLs. Most of them were down, but only the last one, the service-side cloud, was returning a somehow cryptic message. One of them was online, as I said, but was just returning a cryptic 404, added in the for loop of continuous scanning. 2 days later, Dear Search Loop downloaded the documentation. And the documentation was this, the client. As you can see, there's no authentication or authorization. The tasks. So we knew the endpoints, but apparently the documentation was no longer online, which meant that they were switching the C2 online and offline only when there was an operator there to interact with the C2. This meant that I would have to automate the check and put it in the loop and then wait. And by waiting, I mean I had the server run the check periodically every minute, and after waiting, I think about 2 days, I was able to extract 197 commands in 2 minutes on the 4-hour window that the server was up. So as I said, it seemed that they were getting on and off the server only when someone was there to connect it. So the scanner need to be on the actual loop. This is one of the commands. As you can see, it's uploading file somewhere. And when you see a zip -r environment zip, environments, and the I changed that, it was a big crypto company, you have to act fast because someone has already extracted and got all the environment files of the server, of the victim. So it was an act in the making right now. I identified 4 companies. All of them were cryptocurrency related. Two of them were unicorns. And by unicorns, I mean that they were over $1 billion of valuation. I notified and they acknowledged the issue. None of them were ransomed, so I think that's a good thing. I got what I got from there. I got all the info and understood the lateral movement and how they work. I stopped the whole campaign. 4 companies were not ransomed, and Black Hat took a financial hit. And after that, that message came. That's a month after the thing that stopped. Under increasing federal scrutiny, Black Hat ransomware gangs pulls exit cam on its way out. So I don't say that I was the only reason that they pulled that scam, but I think I played a vital role in that. So all in all, I would say that's not a bad result. After this talk that I'm giving here was also presented at DEF CON 32. After DEF CON 32, I got a lot of phishing attempts saying that they want to see how I hacked Black Hat, which is my presentation altogether. They targeted me. Afterwards, they targeted my wife. They targeted my partner in business and colleagues. And at the very least, they also targeted my son. And they sent an email, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram on pretty much everything, Telegram, Signal. They're trying really hard to phish. So, yeah, they failed again. Everest, the third one, is active since late 2020. They go after high-profile targets. They pivoted to initial access broker. Then they repivoted to data links. Then they repivoted to, I don't know, whatever. They graded as highly sophisticated by multiple researchers. And this is their leaks webpage. Can you guess what's the backend of this pretty basic website? It's fucking WordPress. And it's not only fucking WordPress, it's a WordPress from 2020. So it's a 4-year-old WordPress. I obviously ran WP scan because I'm bored and I'm lazy. 42 vulnerabilities identified. None of them were exploitable. So the only thing that I could get was this. Called to undefined function deprecated file. I could see that the PHP error reporting was on. It was running on a Windows machine, and it also has a Vertigo serve hosting. They also had public open directories, a lot of open directories in there. And they also had PHP myadmin. So I went for the typical thing that any hacker would do, and I Googled, what's the default password for Vertigo serve? MySQL default username is root and password is Vertigo. In addition, blah, 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 blah. I went with the default password and got nothing, unfortunately. Then I said, yeah, tough luck. These kind of things happen. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. I put that tab into history and move on with my life. I don't know how many of you have kids, but my kid really likes reading my stuff, reading my tabs, going through my Chrome. And at some point, he said, that's a really strange name to call your server. Why the hell would you call it Vertigo and not Vertigo? I said, what? Yeah, it's Vertigo. It has another R after the TR, so it's Vertigo. I don't know if you said, I said again Vertigo. So I tried root and Vertigo, and that's the WordPress admin panel. there. Yeah. And from there, I said, let's create a WordPress plugin that has a web cell. Yeah, I didn't. I just downloaded an panel that already has a web cell, and I think I used it to see the IP config. So I also got their IP address. They changed the IP address, unfortunately. And also, I think I preliminary used that I'm the admin because I'm the actual admin in there. I have RC as the administrator of the server. It's a 2016, I think, 2020 Windows Server machine. And as you can see, it's Russian-based. You can see a lot of Russian stuff. And can anyone guess what's the worst crime that Everest did? They haven't paid for WinRAR. You're making 10 million per year. Pay the $40 for the guy who developed WinRAR. What did I do? Database export, username extract, remote command execution on the server, got hold of their onion secret keys, lots, and I mean lots of logs to analyze. So all in all, I would say that, yeah, that was a really good result. And again, this was disclosed on DEF CON 32, and once they did, they changed the IP address. But still, it didn't change the login, so I was able to re-log in. Then they started putting logs with TXTs. You can see it on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, that said, fuck you, Vangelis, but I don't care. Then they changed everything, and by everything, I mean they updated to Windows Server 2022, then they recovered from their backup. Their backup had my web cell in there. So they forgot the web cell. They changed everything again. The web cell is still there. LEA is after them. I'm their eternal admin. Last one, Black Angels. It emerged in May 2022. It targets only high-profile targets. It's Babook-based, and by Babook, if you don't know what Babook is one that leaked a Linux ransomware, open-source ransomware stuff. It's Linux and ESXi focused, and it got a lot of attention because it received a record 75 million ransom. And before my flight to DEF CON, Rakesh Krisman was good enough, really great guy, to post their actual IP address. And I had the day, so I went and to the HTTPS of the website, and it seems pretty good. But when you went to HTTP, it had a different public HTML, which means I could see their MySQL password, their MySQL username, and their app secret. env file exposure, internal URL exposure, some error logs exposed, a couple of messages that were mentioning a 5.5 million payments exposed. And unfortunately, that's all that I got, because then I had to fly to DEF CON, and after DEF CON, they have changed everything and removed everything. And all in all, I think we're getting to the conclusions. One of them is the ethical dilemmas. What I do in the past couple of years is certainly in a gray area. So I'm hacking the bad guys. That doesn't mean that I'm above the law. So the past couple of years, I have been in open connection with all the LEAs that reached out to me, all the three-letter agencies, and I'm trying my best to continue helping them taking down what I consider the bad guys. But, yeah, so the final conclusion, I'm a really big fan of VX Underground. If you don't know them, Google them. They're great guys. And they have said that the internet is being ransomed by 5 horsemen. The first one is spyware. I went after spyware things in Besides London 2022 talk. Google it, see it. I went after Stealer botnet on my last year DEFCON 31 talk. And I went after ransomware this year and all their panels. And what I can say is some of us lose, some of you win. And that's good. But I can say that whatever I did, I always stood up, took a fight, and looked at the horseman in the eyes. Thank you for attending my talk.